You know what I like the most about that infamous IGN review? How the writer suddenly out of nowhere started his whole shtick about whenever he was in the right shooting at the actress whose opera house he just set on fire, and whenever he killed her or left her there unconscious to burn to death. Such deep thoughts about a comics video game. Ooh. Okay, bashing IGN reviewers is kind of like kicking a pine cone. Everyone does it, and it doesn't really accomplish anything. But in the intro, I'd like to whine a bit that I originally planned to write this review around the time of Ground Zero, but let's just say something kept getting in my way. But now I finally put my foot down, and together we will take a look at this beautifully drawn black and white shooter, because Mouse PI for Hire isn't just about its amazing art style. Vana. Ano, Vana. Vidíte to sami. Úžasné. Vana. Well, that's not exactly what I meant. I was more trying to say that players have gotten their hands on another solid old school FPS. You would almost want to call it a boomer shooter, but I have to admit I'm not really a fan of that label. It almost seems the honest thing to me, even though it certainly isn't meant that way in this context. But it fits more than well, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. That's ABBA. Anyway, the shootouts are exactly in the spirit of the old days. You walk into a room or a confined space, and until all the enemies are 6 feet under, you simply can't move on. Every now and then a boss fight spices things up, but most of the time it's just you, your gun, and a bunch of enemies swarming your position. And it works, not gonna lie. Well, except for those black doors marked with skulls from which enemies rush out. I stopped liking that as early as the first level, and unfortunately nothing changed about it until the end of the game. Sure, you might consider it a minor problem, but I just don't like it when I arrive somewhere and I already know exactly what's going to happen, or rather where it's going to come from. You know what I mean. Likewise, if I die and reload the last checkpoint, my health is fully restored, no matter how low it was before, even on the highest difficulty. It probably won't surprise anyone that I took advantage of this whenever I had the chance. Even though I'm not very proud of it, I still couldn't resist the temptation. It works similarly with all sorts of environmental obstacles, such as the burning stage in the aforementioned boss fight with the opera singer. If you step into it, there's no penalty. The game simply teleports you to a safe spot without hesitation, and you carry on as if nothing happened. And since that woman often charges at you like an unstoppable bulldozer, you can probably figure out how to elegantly exploit that.
Stone did get long to Kingdom Come.
It's also a shame that you can't replay individual levels, either through the menu or on the in-game map. Each one contains plenty of secret places with figurines, newspaper articles, comic strips, baseball cards or sketches for weapon upgrades. The most important of these are, of course, the sketches. You'll gain access to upgrades for your weapons about a quarter of the way through the game, and the arsenal itself is fairly standard. Pistols, shotguns. I love that animation, that's so cool. Submachine gun or acid thrower can be transformed into futuristic looking weapons, though the main changes are in magazine size, damage dealt or a special ability you get for each one. This is one of them, and veterans of the shooter blood have surely taken notice. And quite rightly so, because in many ways Mouse PR for Hire draws heavily inspiration from, if not outright copies, that famous 19th title. One-liners, weapons, animations, enemy types. You won't take 10 steps without saying to yourself, yeah, this reminds me. Maybe the only thing missing is the pitchfork.
I live again.
Speaking of weapons, there's one special item hidden in a bar at the central hub, and you'll unlock it with 20 tokens from the baseball minigame, which is nothing more than classic card game War, also in Britain known as Battle, expanded to include a baseball diamond. You play one inning of 5 pitches and whoever has most points wins. Fortunately, the AI is pretty primitive, but in any case, if you don't score a point, ideally 2 at bat, you might as well just reset it, because you will only manage a tie at most times. Overall, it's nothing to write home about, but then again, it's not mandatory.
A few moments later. A little longer than a few minutes later.
What the fuck is this piece of shit?
I really don't know if it was worth it. But then again, just 10 more wins and I'll get the achievement. Give me a sec. The main character is Jack Pepper, a private eye and World War I that quite big affair veteran, who, while investigating an ordinary case, unwittingly gets thrown into a massive conspiracy engulfing the entire unsuspecting town of Mouseburg. I don't want to give too much of the story away, so I'll just mention that small shrews are mysteriously disappearing, and for some reason the police are harassing them. And on top of that, a new political party, the Big Mouse Party, is somehow involved. If you know the history of the 20th century, you probably have a very good idea where I'm going with this and what's roughly going on. What I definitely want to mention though is the abundance of cheese references.
But these weren't your run-of-the-mill, trigger-happy, cheese-chewing, law-abiding cops. Something's rotten in the police force. Stinks worse than blue cheese on a hot day.
There's at least one in practically every sentence. And all sorts of Easter eggs, from video games, movies, music, other media to references to the game itself. They throw them at you at a dizzying pace and you will be lucky to catch even a third of them.
Mamma mia! I'm never gonna financially recover from this. Diamond keys are forever mine.
I hear they call him Bond. Municipal bond. Extremely effective.
Lesson learned. Just don't follow the damn train.
A gun! And the level's almost done!
Level what? Wow, what a mansion.
Actually, I'm quite surprised at how extensive the story is, considering the type of game Mouse PR for Hire is, and that's a good thing, because it's a really long game, and I have to admit, whenever I like it or not, that the gameplay alone, while very entertaining, isn't enough to carry it, since you are fighting the same types of enemies with the same arsenal over and over and over again. I do get to use a few abilities like the tail propeller, grappling hook and wall running, but you will hardly use them at all in actual combat.
It was a day like any other, until her. The woman. That woman. She waltzed into my office like she owned the place. Didn't have to say a word. I saw her voice the moment she walked through the door.
Bonjour, Monsieur Jacques. You just can't keep your eyes off this tail, can you?
To be honest, the more I play, the less I enjoy it, since it's the same thing over and over and over and over. You would think at least a boss fight would snap me out of my lethargy, but when it turns out to be such a crazy mess as the one in the cemetery... And when I'm not fighting, I'm noticing more and more how everyone is constantly bopping up and down, which drives me even more and more crazy. The total crisis hit around the 10-hour mark, when I was seriously considering that it might be worth shortening the whole game as well as most of the dialogue. But luckily a small saving grace arrived. A western town. First they delighted me with that famous melody from the Sting. Only to follow it up with another classic. On the other hand, when I got to the movie courtroom and a massive shootout broke out, I had such tunnel vision that I didn't even notice the health bar at the top and just furiously fired at all those idiots down below. At least the trial was over really fast after that.
What? Not guilty? I knew you'd say that.
Forget about it.
You up for casting too?
I'm shocked and disappointed at the same time that the main character didn't comment on this at all. So... Colors? Blah, that will never catch on. Another 6.5 hours passed before I finally stumbled to the end, and I'll admit, to be fair, that I started enjoying it again towards the end, because interesting ideas started popping up. A lot of people dismiss that boss fight with Steve as total crap, but paradoxically I actually like it. Yeah, I would speed it up and above all make it harder because it's horribly primitive, but I appreciate the idea. Just like this reflection.
Glug, glug, glug. Oh, wait. No, I got the helmet on.
The only thing else I'd like to specifically mention is the final boss, because I really didn't like him at all. And without spoilers, I probably can't tell you much of substance about him, so watch out for the next few dozen seconds. In the first phase, I jump around like an idiot and destroy those propaganda mouthpieces with their disgusting health pool. Then I eat an ultra mega power up that gives me an infinite ammo, and in the tiny arena I just shoot over and over until I go crazy. Twice. Well, I can imagine a better ending. You might argue that I didn't even try to use anything other than the Thompson, which is true, but I would be hard-pressed to find a better solution than a round magazine with 75 rounds.
Alright, this is it. End of the line.
It's too long. I know it's a terrible paradox, but it's true. The writers almost lost me in the middle, because practically nothing happened there. The shootouts were repetitive and uninspired, and there were long conversations with NPCs that I mostly spent scrolling through my phone. That's not a good look for Mouse PI for hire. The beginning and the end are better after all. Same goes for the great music, the stylization, which I still haven't praised enough, and the humor. I think a 7 fits it more than well. Okay, and what I'm doing now, the video is over. No, wait, FireTight, you don't need to do this, you already have the achievements. Fire as to it!